Good afternoon. It's Sunday, March 13th, 2022, and I will be explaining some Gann analysis of Chicago and Minneapolis wheat using Gann Trader software. Plus, I will take a look at trend and reversal patterns using Trade Navigator software. My name is Nathaniel Gleason, and I work for North American Agricultural Services, owned and operated by CTA David Gleason. First, I will share with you a 144-week time and price cycle in the July Chicago wheat. The chart to the left is a weekly July Chicago wheat chart showing a cycle of 144 weeks. We're starting the cycle from the June 26, 2020 low of 468.25 cents at a price per week ratio of 8. Now, since we're using a price per week ratio of 8, we take 144 weeks times 8 to get the target price of $16.20. Now, if you take 144 times 8 and then divide it by 8, you get these 1/8 division points in price. Now, these 1/8 division points in price are 144 cents apart. So this is almost a perfect time and price squared chart. I would like to point out that the next division point in time is due the week ending March 18th, 2022, so this coming week. The nearest resistance is the 1/8, or this would be, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 6/8 division point in price, and that crosses at $13.3225. The minor green, that's the 2/3 division point in time, is due April 29, 2022, and the minor green 2/3 division point in price is at $12.3625. So there's a time and price meet here due on April 29, 2022. The double clue is due July 22nd, 2022 and may mark a change of trend. And the clue is due, which is the blue vertical line, is due November 25th, 2022 and may also mark a change of trend. The cycle expires March 31st, 2023, and the target price is $16.2025. The midpoint in price crosses at $10.4425. Now this might turn into support since we've broken above it. I'd also like to point out that the price per week of 8 cents is the default setting. Now usually that we wouldn't include the actual target because that is such a high target, but just with current situations, that default settings actually coming into play. In previous years, we've only looked at the midpoint in price as a target. Next, I'll share with you an update on the December electronic Chicago wheat chart showing a cycle of 360 weeks. Now I originally made this chart last fall and have been sharing it on the wheat update since. We're starting the 360 weeks from the September 6, 2019 low of 450.5 cents at a ratio of 2.7 cents per week. This cycle expires on July 31st, 2026 with a target price of $14.2225. We've recently broken above the midpoint in price of 936.5 cents. Now these midpoints in price may turn into support now that the market's crossed above them. The midpoint in time is due February 17th, 2023. The next division point in time is due April 8th, 2022, and may mark a change of trend. We are near resistance of the 2/3 horizontal green line, and that crosses at $10.98.5. The next chart is a weekly July Chicago wheat chart showing planetary angle lines. Now these planetary cycles are set to a planetary angle of 1.618. Now what that means is that for each degree of rotation, or excuse me, of revolution around the sun, is set to 1.618 cents. Now what that does is brings the Pluto up to this low right here, and you can see we have Jupiter cross, we have the Earth Sun cross, Mars is really close. All these cycles can join here, and that's where the market made its low. You can also see Saturn, the purple line, held as support too before we broke below to Jupiter. So this looks like the right planetary sitting, and I'm using 1.618, and that happens to be the golden ratio based off Fibonacci numbers. As you can see, we've broken through Uranus at 1233, but we couldn't stay above there, and the market reversed. So Uranus's resistance at 1233. I put in the weekly report here last week that if we had, closes, plural, the one close above isn't going to be enough, but if we start having a series of closes above Uranus, then these upper planetary lines come into play, and Pluto crosses at 1645, Neptune at 1736, and Uranus at $18.29. Right now we're just concerned about the middle planetary lines, and Neptune is now support at 1155, and below there Pluto at 1065. We've also been rallying with the angle line of Mars, and we supported on the angle line of the Earth-Sun cycle. So we want to watch how we react to those lines also. But right now they're up against resistance, and there might be a change of trend with them breaking through and not staying above Uranus. Now, with current world situations like the war in Ukraine, we might get the closes above Uranus, and we might be looking at these higher targets. That would align with some of the time and price charts. Next, we'll take a look at, on the left here, we'll take a look at planetary cycles on a weekly Minneapolis Wheat continuation chart. Now, the planetary angle, so the price per degree of revolution, is set to 1.54. As you can see, we supported above Pluto where it crossed Jupiter, Saturn, and the Earth-Sun cycle, and we've rallied above Uranus. Kind of similar to the last chart, Uranus crosses at 1186. Now we didn't stay above there, so we're going to look at that as we're up against resistance. Now we start closing above Uranus, we'll have to rebuild this chart and put the upper planetary lines on there. But this is the chart we've been following for quite some time now. The bottom Uranus, well, I should say Uranus crosses at 1186, Neptune at 1103, and Pluto is support at 1012. You can also see we're rallying with the angle line of Mars again. To the right, we're looking at a weekly Minneapolis wheat chart, and we're looking at trend using the will stop. And the weekly trend is up with the computer going long. The July Minneapolis wheat on the weekly chart at 10:11. The weekend in 2/25/22, so February 25th, 2022, with the current generated stop at 9:02, and that's for the weekend in March 18th, 2022. Friday, March 11th, 2022, the Minneapolis wheat on the weekly chart settled down the week 67.5 cents at 10.53 cents. Next, we'll take a look at July Chicago wheat using the harmonic Gann wheel. A harmonic Gann wheel is used as a time and price calculator and uses a square 9 grid and circular overlays with degrees marked so you can measure price movements and find areas of support and resistance. Encircling the square 9 grid is another circle with each day of the year marked 98.6 degrees apart. So it can also be used to measure time in degrees and is used to find potential days that will mark changes of trend. Resistance for July Chicago wheat measuring clockwise from the January 14th, 2022 low of 736 is 360 degrees equals resistance at $8.48 Going another 360 degrees to the 720 degree wheel number, that's at 969. Another 360 degrees gets us to the 1080 degree number, which is 1097 3/4. And another turn around the wheel, which is a 1440 degree number, is at 1234. The 1530 degree number is at 1270. The 1620 is at 1306.5. The 1710 degree is at 1342. And the 1800, which is 5 times around the wheel, is at 1379. Support for July Chicago wheat measuring counterclockwise from the March 8, 2022 high of 1278.25 The 270 degree support comes in at 1174. The 360 comes in at $11.39.25. The 720 degree comes in at 1008.5. The 810 comes in at $9.76.5. The 900 comes in at $9.46. The 990 degree is at 916, and the 1080 degree is at 886.5 Okay, now looking at it as a time calculator, we'll be using the harmonic Gann wheel, and starting from the November 24th, 2021 high of 863, July Chicago wheat had a cycle of 90 degrees due February 23rd, 2022. Next, we'll take a look at this one. It's starting from the November 24th, 2021 high of 863. July Chicago wheat has a cycle of 144 degrees due April 19th, 2022. And these may mark changes as trend. Next, we'll take a look at the will stop on the weekly May and July Chicago wheat. The weekly trend is up with the computer going long in the May Chicago wheat on the weekly chart at 8.27 the week ending January 28, 2022, with the current generated stop at 7.79.5 for the week ending March 18, 2022. On Friday, March 11, 2022, the May Chicago wheat on the weekly chart settled the week down $1.02 at $11.07. For the weekly July Chicago wheat, the weekly trend is up with the computer going long the July Chicago wheat on the weekly chart at 8.13 3/4 the week ending January 28, 2022, with the current generated stop at $7.75 3/4. for the week ending March 18th, 2022. On Friday, March 11th, 2022, July Chicago wheat on the weekly chart settled the week down 93.5 cents at 1076.5. The last bit of information I have to share with you are weekly buy and sell signals. Now that we've had a series of buy signals get triggered, it looks like marked here was on February 11th and again on February 25th, the week's ending, there were buy signals. There is a possible buy signal if May Chicago wheat trades above 1209, that's the week prior high, during the weekend in March 18th, 2022. So we'll be watching that buy signal closely. That concludes my rundown on Chicago wheat. Please look over the disclaimer and have a good day.